Hello, hello, everybody. It's Melanie here, and I wanted to connect in with you today for another live Q&A session. Man, I am loving reading all of your posts. Congratulations to all of you that have been following along. You're posting, you're staying engaged. I know we even had a hurdle today. Doreen, my team member, was like, "Oh, the site's down." I'm like, "Oh, awesome." So luckily my team jumped in. We figured that out real quick. So I hope if you were trying to access the challenge this morning and couldn't get in, you've come back to look for it. So today we are on day 3. Day 1 was about your bold goal, and I laid out a really awesome foundation for you to figure out what of the 4 success pillars you need to grow and expand so you can pull off this bold goal. And hopefully you set yourself a bold influence goal. And I've been loving reading those bold influence goals. Well, just well done, everybody. Day 2 was your influence platform. Now, questions started to come up again where people were wondering how they were going to be able to tackle some of these bold influence platforms that they wanted to create for themselves. So I'm going to cover a couple of those today. And day 3 today has been about leverage. How are you going to leverage your time and your talent so that you can really accelerate and crush those goals? And I love today so much because look, we can get these great big influence platform goals, but sometimes we get stuck and we don't actually know how to achieve them. So as you're tuning in live, you can write your question in the comments. You should see a little comment thing. If you don't see it, that's okay. You can head over to the post that says live Q&A, post your questions here, and I'll catch those back up later. So let me cover one of the first questions that came up. And let me pull up my little notes here. Oh my goodness, getting my mouse to cooperate here. So the first question I had come up was about monetizing. I'm going to get into this a little bit more on Friday's live Q&A. Mark your calendar for 12 o'clock. We'll do it Friday live. But the question was on monetizing podcasts. And in particular, this person was asking about what are the ways that they can take an influence platform like that and start to attract real clients. So I'm wondering, is anybody else wondering the same thing? How do you start attracting clients with your influence platform? So here's the trick. The reason why we have to really look at your influence platform, and sometimes this will be a little in your blind spot. So if you find that, I'm gonna just open up my phone here so I can keep track of your questions coming in. But if you notice that you're really working on a podcast, or you've written this book, you are out there speaking and you're not getting clients, chances are one of 2 things is off. It could be your messaging is off. So I've had clients who started to work with me in my mastermind, and they found that the thing they're super passionate about is actually not the thing their ideal clients are going to say yes to. So we've kind of had to find a bridge. And so if you're out there talking about your, whatever you're passionate about, and it's not generating clients, chances are this is the problem. So the messaging, there's a disconnect. The second thing that happens is that maybe you've been a little, you're hiding out from your own best self. So when you do put all of this great content out there in the world, you're not giving great call to actions. So you're not telling people how they can work with you. And this usually comes up because you're maybe have a little bit of a limiting belief or fear about how to share what you're doing. Maybe you're not all in on it. Maybe you're nervous and you haven't put it out there, and so you're still kind of figuring out how to articulate it, or maybe you don't know where to send them. So there's a mechanical piece, a system piece that might be missing for you. And so we're going to want to look at that. And yeah, it might be hard to figure out on your own, but just know that there is a way for you to actually be taking whatever that influence platform is and up-leveling how you invite people to work with you. So I'm seeing Natalie. Hello, Natalie, all the way from Australia, and Donna, Trisha, Daika. Welcome, Trisha. I'm looking forward to seeing your posts and hearing what your big breakthroughs are for each day in the challenge. So here's the last thing about monetizing. Some people think I got to go for sponsorships, and that can work, but it's not the only way to monetize. The way I really want you to monetize, especially if you're doing a podcast or a show, is I want you to start looking for how do you create content and how do you create invitations to get people from listener to taking an active action that they're going to get on your list, go through a nurture sequence, and become a client. Now, if you're guesting, and this is one of the things that I get really excited to work with my clients around, because there's so much room for opportunity here. When you're guesting on other people's podcasts, and by the way, I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people over the years. There are people who are really great at creating a really compelling talk and making sure that they're guiding people into an environment where they want more, and then creating a compelling thing to do. And then there's people that really just kind of leave it very soft and nothing happens for them. So that might take a little bit of extra support. And if you were the winner of day 2, then you qualified for my signature talk training that will help you fix that problem. If not, and you want access to it, please just comment below, let me know, and I'll tell you how to get your hands on that tool. Okay, so monetizing is a really big conversation. For those of you that upgraded and took advantage of the influencer experience, which you can still do that if you want, if you haven't yet, you are going to get access to my 10x, how to 10x your revenues, my monetize method program as part of that package. And hopefully that'll fill in a lot of the unique questions and stuff you might have. Hello, Angela. Nice to see you. So be sure to post what are your questions you would like answered today. We're at day 3 today. And so we had a question that came in on monetizing podcast, but I kind of broadened that a little bit to cover some other questions that commonly come up. A second question, and I'm not sure if the person who asked it is here, and I'm not going to say their name in case they don't want to be known, but somebody asked the question about how do you start making 6 and 7 figures, and I believe the way they asked it was when you haven't been making money in your business yet. So this is a tricky question because everybody's different, everybody's unique, and there isn't one way to do it. This is why I do strategy sessions. I'm just to be completely honest, like I need to customize this to the person who's asking, or if you're asking this question, I would want to customize this, but let me give you a couple of things that you really want to pay attention to. One is, are you charging enough? I will tell you, in my 20 years of mentoring and coaching entrepreneurs and thought leaders, the number one reason that somebody is not making enough money in their business is they're not charging enough. And so you're working 10 times as many hours trying to get more revenue coming in. And so I would say the first thing you need to look at is your pricing. Are you charging enough? And here's the funny thing, like in the very beginning, I was offering, like this is 20 years ago, but I was offering $350 a year, or sorry, $350 a month for 3 coaching sessions. And I could not scrape together enough clients to cover my nut. I could not make enough money. Then I started raising my prices and I realized how valuable what I did was, and I started to understand the real problem I solved for my clients. And I started to up-level my positioning, and I got my influence platforms in place. And guess what? I couldn't have enough time for people at my highest rate. So when I started charging $900 a month, $1,500 a month, I couldn't keep up with all the requests. So this really has a lot to do with, are you pricing yourself correctly? And secondly, are you messaging what you do properly? I'm going to keep coming back to this. On Monday, I'm teaching a bonus training. I want you there. If you struggle with how to communicate what you do, if you don't have enough money coming in, if you know you're like a best kept secret and you're not getting enough clients, chances are your messaging is off. And we want to look at the elements of messaging in particular, how to create your own bold influence formula. So trust me, 80% of my clients struggle with this over the years, and getting this one little piece down is like, the waters part, and all of a sudden everything starts to get easier. So make sure you're there for that. You do need to register for it. It will not be live in the Amplify group. All right, so what other questions? John is asking, don't want to tie up the group, but do you have any tailored suggestions for me and others who might be selling a service, mine being voiceovers, where a number of things from today, like live presentations or speaking to groups, seem to be a bad fit? So John, it's interesting that you believe that voiceovers are not, or that speaking might be a bad fit. I don't know if you have a particular area that you do voiceover work for, like if there's a particular niche, but I actually don't agree with you that speaking is not a good option. But again, this really totally depends on who your niche is. Like, who are you marketing this to? Are you marketing to like people that do commercials, or are you marketing it to podcasters? Are you marketing it to people who do online ads of some kind? There's a lot of different niches. But one of the things I would say is, if you're not visible enough to your ideal audience, you have to figure out where do they go and look for your services. Just out of the top of my head, a lot of people are going to Fiverr now. I'm not a huge fan of bringing your prices down, but I would say that it might be worth looking at to kind of get a kickstart of business. Look at how Fiverr sets themselves up. There's just a lot of noise around Fiverr, and people know to go to look there, but everybody knows you're not paying $5. So that might be something to look at. The other thing is, influence can be created by leveraging high profile clients. So for anyone who felt like there wasn't an influence platform that worked for you today, but you really need to boost your authority, you're looking for additional credibility, here's something to think about. How could you do your service for a few really high profile clients, and then let their messaging in the world, their big buzz that they create around their work, start to sell you, because everybody goes, well, who did that voiceover for you? Like, that was awesome. It's like, well, you got to go hire John, right? So there are some other creative ways, John, that might work for you to start getting that elevation of your work in front of your ideal clients without doing like one of those platforms. I would also suggest, depending on who your niche is, some people are looking at doing different shows and getting really active on social media as an influencer. That might be an angle worth exploring. I don't know what that looks like for you yet. That would be where we want to customize some things, but look at like, how can I take something that works in another industry and modify it to work in mine? All right, thank you for asking the question. Look forward to seeing what you do with that, John. Another question that came in, let me see if I can get up there and get my notes. Oh, I'm upside down. No wonder I can't get to my notes. You ever have those days where everything's just a little upside down, right? Okay. Here was the big question. Somebody was mentioning that they've been using a Facebook group to try and amplify their influence, but they couldn't get people active. And I'm curious if anyone else has bumped up against this as well. You're trying to get some traction. You're working really hard to get your message out there. You've heard you should have a Facebook group, but it's crickets, right? So I am not going to profess to be any kind of expert in creating a lot of engagement in a Facebook group, but I can say the weeks we do the Own Your Bold Influence Challenge, it's off the hook in here, right? Everybody's active. So what does that tell us? We always want to look for clues. What are the clues? What is it that is working? And people respond to specific instructions on something they're going to do. So in our case, we get a lot of activity during the weeks of the Own Your Bold Influence Challenge. And then what I notice happens is the people who join our mastermind, the Amplify Mastermind, or get involved in one of our other products, they tend to move their activity to the group special to that type of group. So like our Amplify group is usually pretty active, and like the money DNA mindset work or something else like that, that's where it tends to move to. So that's what works for me, is I don't worry so much about it during the off season. But one of the things you can do is think about could you run several mini challenges throughout the year? Could you kind of gamify activity? Instead of creating different pop-up groups, which a lot of people are told to do, I say create one group and just move everybody into it. Could you create a themed conversation? One of the things that really helps our engagement is when we have an email that tells people to come into the group and do something. So many people, the Facebook algorithms are tough. It's really hard to beat them. It's really hard to stay on top of them. So that comes up a lot. The third suggestion I would have for you is you're trying to create engagement in a Facebook group is do more video. The more video you do, the more it pops up into people's streams, and tag them. So create conversations, create polls. I will say that our polls, our videos, and like when we have fun types of things, those get the most engagement. I also have another group I'm involved with that I do some coaching and mentoring around the social media side. And one of the things that we notice is that on the days where people can like spotlight themselves, so it might be, hey, this is our day where you can share a talk that you'd like to get booked for, or tell us something about what you do. And sometimes like we do like networking in that group. Those all seem to work really well too. So for the person that asked this question, what I would say is really think about what is the outcome? What is the action you ultimately want them to take? What do you want them to do from the group? Are you wanting them to buy something? Are you wanting them to hire you? Do you want them to use your services, right? Hello, Lisa. One of our influencer experience trainers just joined in. What is it that you want them to do, and how can you craft things that happen in that group so that it will showcase and seed it so people take action? And who cares if they're active in the group if they're actually buying stuff from you, right? So that's my take on it. There's a lot of people that have built their whole business around how to create engaging Facebook groups. And so, that might be worth exploring if you're wanting to really up your game in that way. What I would say is, how can you move them off the group and into conversation with you that turns them into paying clients? That's really what I would have you look at. All right, so let's see if there's any other questions we're going to cover today. Oh, yes, here was a good one, and this was from Mindset Day. It came in later. How do you say yes first, then figure it out later when an opportunity presents itself? All right, anyone else kind of stuck on this one? Like, all right, so how does that really play out? How do we do this? So here's what I've noticed. We have different personalities in business. And some people are more cautious. Some people are more like, woohoo, just, I'm in the wind. I'm just going to do whatever's next. And we do have extremes, like the extreme personality of, okay, I'm just going to do whatever's in the moment. They oftentimes get caught up in bright, shiny objects and they lose their way quickly. People who are more cautious and slow and methodical, they tend to wait too long. So we've got to find the gray zone, right? What is that gray zone for you? So the gray zone is, how do I recognize an opportunity that is perfect, that I have to say yes to it and move on it quickly? And so what that means is you actually need to know what your criteria are. So I do have an advanced training around this, but I want to just give you the basics right now to get you this ball rolling for you. The most important thing is understand what is a good opportunity. Is it financial? Is it opportunity? Is it visibility? Is it getting you in front of your ideal clients? Is it helping you boost authority? What is a good opportunity for you right now? And again, that might shift and change as you evolve and grow in your business. Then you say yes because you know it's a good opportunity, and then you have to be resourceful enough to figure out how to do it. And so it may be just you need to hire a coach who can help you navigate those quick decisions. It's like, all right, how do I make this work? It may be that you need support team. So for some people, they need to hire a virtual assistant or an employee or a group of people who can actually keep them nimble so that when they say yes, it's like, okay, make it happen, and you can delegate it. So, but this all goes back to a mindset. And I want to come back to this mindset because it's so important when we're going to take bold leaps. And that is, if you don't say yes to things that scare you because you don't know how to do it, you will never get yourself where you need to be. So fear is the thing that keeps us from saying yes to something that we want to do. The fear of it not doing it right, the fear of I could do it better and I don't want to lay anybody down. It could be the fear of being rejected, or it could be fear of whatever, right? Ultimately, if you want to really take advantage of this bold momentum that we're creating through the challenge, you've got to be willing to say yes to something when it's presented, even if you don't know how to do it. And for a lot of people, it's like, I don't know how to afford to say yes. Like, I don't have the money to back this right now. That will always keep you stuck. You ask anybody who's made big, bold leaps in their business, and they will tell you that they decided to say yes way before they knew how. And then they figured out how to turn it into a great return on their time, their money, or their team's time, whatever that is. Oh yeah, so Lisa was just following up on a question from John. So that's what I would say is decide that you will do it, then decide you will become the person who can pull it off. And that may mean you just need to get more resourceful. You may need to hire a coach. You may need to have a team. You may need to surround yourself with people who are like, yeah, go for it, figure it out later. But you got to trust that part of you, because fear gets tricky. If you know there's something there for you and it's like, okay, there's something here, trust that voice. If you're like, this is not a good fit, no, not a good fit, then you have to trust that. So recently, I'll give you an example. I was given an opportunity to step up my game into a, I'm not going to say what it is because it might come off wrong, but there was let's just say, a very coveted opportunity in the podcasting world. And it was very appealing. And I sat with it a little bit, but there was a lot of vagueness about what it actually meant. And I knew the people who were making the invitation kind of expect a lot for very little. And so I just stepped away from it. I said no. And it wasn't because it wasn't great and it won't be perfect for the right person. I just knew it wasn't right for me, even though it was an amazing opportunity. And that is the mastery of knowing what your superpowers are, what your bold goal is, where you want to play a bigger game, and what you're willing to do to get there. And you have to know that for you. So hopefully for the person that was asking that question, that helps answer that question. Thank you so much, Lisa, for that beautiful feedback. Melanie is a brilliant coach. Thank you. So Lisa's here. We've seen some other people popping in and out who are part of the influencer experience. Let me just remind you that if you have found that you couldn't keep up with the different trainings, or you got busier than you thought you were, and you didn't get to finish some of the steps, or you know how brilliant this is and you're probably going to want to review it again, you're going to want to upgrade your ticket from the free ticket to the influencer experience. And I've made it really, really, really cost effective, and I am giving you so many amazing resources to make it worth your while. But the most important one is that I know you're going to want to revisit this. At the end of the challenge on Monday, you will lose access to these trainings, and I just want to make sure you know that. Like, if you're falling behind, don't stress out. We have a way for you to get the recordings. And I'm also including my monetized method, which I mentioned earlier, which is a $200 program to help you figure out how you're going to find the right way to monetize your business faster. But one of the things I am most excited about in this package is that I have invited 12 people who I consider to be influencers and who have very, very powerful offerings to come in and teach you how to boost your influence, or how to clear the energy blocks that are in the way of you stepping up your game. They're going to teach you how to get on stages. One lady's teaching how to basically make sure that you can make 10K from any stage you ever go to, whether you're being paid or it's free. We've got people who are going to teach you how to land TEDx talks. So there is a lot. We've got a lady who's going to come in and show you how to get published in the book that will transform your business. We've got someone teaching how to start your podcast. So anything that I thought might come up where you want more of the puzzle pieces, I invited them to come and teach. They're 30-minute trainings. A couple went a little bit longer. But most importantly, they're all going to teach you something to get you going and give you a resource that you can put into action what they're teaching you. So I will put the link in the comments here. And, oh, okay. Lisa's saying she's going to check back later. But I'm going to put the link in there if you've not yet upgraded and got your VIP Influencer Experience ticket, so you know how to do that. Now, I hope I covered all the questions. We've got a couple more Q&As coming. On Friday at noon Pacific time, I'm going to do the last live Q&A. So keep the questions coming, keep posting them. I scan through the threads. Remember that every day you have a chance to win an amazing prize. All you have to do is follow that day's challenge and post what you're going to put into action. And then tomorrow we're going to give you a dual power-packed session. One is on clearing out some of the head trash that's getting in your way and how to prioritize so you know what to put your time and attention on. Because I know by now you're getting lots of ideas. There's probably a lot of things you want to accomplish. So I want to give you one of those what I call superchargers, and that is how to know how to prioritize what's really important and how to kind of like pause some of the things that are just distractions and recognizing the difference. And then on Friday, it's Get It Done Day. There is a really big prize available for you on Friday. You don't want to miss that one. So even if you work on this for an hour or you work on it all day, you get to make some major progress on momentum on Friday. Can't wait to see what you come up with for that. And then, of course, Monday, we have our wrap-up bonus training where I'll help pull it all together, show you how to keep the momentum going, and most importantly, I'm going to show you how to find your bold influence formula so that you are, what your messaging and your language and how you position things is just so buzzworthy that people can't wait to get more from you. All right, everybody, keep the questions coming, keep the momentum going. We'll see you all on Friday for the next Q&A. Bye, everyone.